All right guys, so here's the plan for tonight, possibly into tomorrow night. We're gonna break free the rear trunk brace, but when the rear trunk brace went in, the quarter was on the car, which was holding the tail panel in place. So when I remove this, the tail panel is now gonna be free to drop. So it is now tied off to a stud in the ceiling. So that shouldn't happen. So now that that's taken care of, I'm gonna break free these two spot welds to remove the rear trunk brace from the tail panel. Before I do that, I'm gonna go ahead and put in a sheet metal screw somewhere in here so that I can make sure I get the tail panel and the rear trunk brace realigned where they should be. There's already sheet metal screws going into the frame through the rear trunk brace, so that will realign where it should be once the repair work is done. So we're gonna drop out the rear trunk brace. We're gonna do repairs to this and any repairs necessary to the frame minus where the sheet metal screws go for alignment. Once we get those repairs done, we will put the rear trunk brace back in place. Hopefully get some really nice, good spot welds in there, holding it in, and we can move on to the quarter, finally. The rear trunk brace, I wanna make sure I get all my spot welds good on this car, but definitely the rear trunk brace because, this section that I'm dealing with right now where those with those weak welds, that holds up the entire back corner of the car. And not only does it hold that up, but it supports the gas tank as well. So we want this to be magnifico. We want it to be good. That's what we want. So let's do it. Okay, so clearly the rear trunk brace was welded in there a little bit better than I had thought, but it still wasn't good enough. But it definitely put up a pretty big fight, and I'm glad I did it. It was a mess, but I'm glad I did it. Looks like I'm gonna get a little more practice welding because this now, all this needs cleaned up and this needs to be cleaned up. I need to get these things looking nice and smooth. So we're gonna grind these down. Both surfaces down, so we'll grind this surface down and repair the little holes so that we have nice, clean, solid metal to weld to. And then we will turn our attention to this area on the rear trunk brace, which I'm not 100% sure how I'm gonna repair that yet. I need to think about that one. But we definitely wanna get it cleaned up, get everything nice and strong. Alright, so this is just a quick update. I ran out of gas the other night, had to stop, and then I came in here and just started welding to get this finished up. I'm going to call it a night here. It's Friday night, but I wanted to get some stuff done. But the repair is about finished. I figured out a lot more. It was good to get a lot of practice because I was burning through, and I had some practice figuring out where my wire speed needed to be in relation to my heat and those type of things with this. And this metal is thinner than the frame, so it was good to get that practice. And I did repair the frame as well. That's been fixed. The holes have been filled, and that's ready to go. This edge, I mean, it looks really thin, but that's just this edge is actually cracked in. I got some good metal in here. So this is good and solid and ready to weld to. So the repairs are close to being finished. This one, I don't know if you guys remember, there's a big hole here that's been filled now, and it's pretty good. Still needs to be cleaned up a little bit, but we are about there. And hopefully I can get this in tomorrow evening, but I don't know. But just figured I'd film this update quick so you guys can see what I was able to accomplish this evening. Alright, so here is where we ended up. Ran into some problems this week. My MIG welder ran out of gas and basically ended up losing some time due to that, and I just didn't get as far as I wanted to. This still needs to be cleaned up, but the patch is in now. I need to clean up along here, but before I did that, I wanted to get it back in the car and make sure everything was lining up right. So it looks pretty good. I still have a little bit of filling to do with some welding and grinding, but for the most part it's finished up. Then I will be putting everything back in weld through primer and going back on the car. But I wanted to get it back on the car, and I wanted to get the driver's side pan back in the trunk and make sure all of my marks line up, which everything does appear to line up. Yeah, everything seems to be lining up pretty well. So didn't get as far as I wanted to this episode, but I did get some stuff done. It's just part of it. So we will continue on with this in the next episode.